Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 1 of Talking Guns. I'm Lycan.
I'm Indoor Pilot.
My name is Loco.
And we are here to bring you the first episode of our new show where we discuss one of the most heavily anticipated games in Blizzard history, their newest IP in 17 years, I believe 18 as of this year. Last year was announced it was 17. So we have a lot to talk about today, believe it or not, for only being the first 24 hours of the beta. So we're going to, first we'll do some introductions, get to know us if you don't already. Then we'll talk about the veto system. We're going to do a hero spotlight. That's going to be on Pharah this week. Then we'll do a champion rundown where we go through the different roles within the game. We'll talk about the heroes that we thought were a little underwhelming on our first impressions, those that we thought would be underwhelming and that ended up kicking ass. And then we'll do our bullet point segment where topics that don't have enough substance to them to last a full segment. We'll just rush through those. Talk about it. We'll talk about the beta and how it was released, the community's response, and then we'll talk about some other things such as the aim assist that people are talking about that gets turned on when we use controllers. But first and foremost, let's go around the horn and get to know everyone on the panel. So, Indoor Pilot, you're new. This is your first podcast. Why don't you go ahead and just talk about your gaming past and why you're here for Overwatch?
Okay, let's see. Gaming past. I started just like every kid, Super Mario Brothers. Let's fast forward a few years to online gaming. The first game that really got me was Diablo 2. I'm sure it got a lot of people too. I just mesmerized by that game. Countless hours. I may or may not have had bots running things for me back in the day. Who knows? And then after that, I discovered Final Fantasy 11. It was the first Final Fantasy that was online. And I was like, MMOs, that's my cup of tea. That's my jam. And then like playing it for 3 months, I found World of Warcraft and then completely forgot about Final Fantasy 11. 6 years later, after coming down off my WoW high, I then moved to first-person shooters, Call of Duty, fell victim to the platform, did that up until about a year ago when I finally discovered League of Legends, and I've been playing that more or less religiously for the past year, and I'm just getting tired of it. And then, come on, Overwatch. This game looks so amazing. Everything I like about Blizzard and their gameplay, which is always awesome. And first-person shooters, that's awesome.
Awesome. All right, Loco, talk about your gaming experience. I mean, a lot of people here probably know you already.
Yeah, I play a lot of video games. A lot of you will probably know me for, mainly playing a lot of StarCraft. And, I'm still playing a lot of StarCraft as well. I've been making YouTube videos, live streaming for a very long amount of time right now. And can actually consider that my job right now, which is pretty awesome. So basically what I've been doing is just make a ton of different content, and now that Overwatch is out, obviously being the Blizzard fanboy that I am, I figured, I need to give this a good try, and honestly, I've been basically playing non-stop ever since the beta started, or ever since my account got flagged. I had a little bit of issues getting into the beta at first, but, I've been playing pretty much the entire day. I think over the last 14 hours, I've probably played about 13, so, it's been a good time so far, and yeah, really, really excited to be talking about this somewhere. It's really cool.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. For those who don't know me, I'm Lycan. I host the late game over in the StarCraft community, and now I'm going to be hosting this stuff over here with Overwatch. Overwatch, it's exciting. I mean, it's just a whole new experience for me. I never played Team Fortress 2, so this type of game is just absolutely awesome, and it's fun, and I like things that are new, fun, and in particular Blizzard. So with that all said, we're going to now kick it off. Let's just go around the horn again. First impressions, boys. Let's talk about how you felt going into this game. The hype was real. Everyone knows that. Loco, how did you overall, your first couple of games, what do you think of Overwatch?
All right. So usually whenever a new game comes out, right? Is my webcam lagging, or is it just for
me? You're lagging a little bit.
Hold on, let me see if I can turn it back on. All right, there we go. Does that work? Did it not break everything? All right. So generally speaking, whenever I hear about a game that's about to be released, right, there's this massive hype leading up, and I'm always a little cautious because especially over like the last couple of years, we had a massive hype build up, and then it actually turning out to be kind of terrible or it be completely buggy. And honestly, I've been really, really, really impressed with Overwatch and how smoothly it's been running. I mean, I had like a disconnect here and there, and I ran into a bug or two. But other than that, I really haven't had any issues at all. So I've actually been having a really, really good time. It works just like you want it to, pretty much.
All right, cool. Pilot, what about you?
Let me come from the complete opposite side of that spectrum. I was super excited, super stoked to actually get into the game. Like I drove home like a little schoolgirl, like just so excited. Rushed home, downloaded it immediately, logged in. I think I played Pharah for the first game. Got my first death. Boom, crash. And that continued all night long. And I've probably logged about 30 minutes actually in the game on my computer. Thankfully, I live with Lycan, and I got to play several games on his computer, so I did get some time with all the heroes. But I was ready to smash my computer with a sledgehammer last night.
Yeah, we were playing with Steven last night, and that was a lot of fun because I just swap out with him. But that is the computer over there, folks. That's the crashed and burnt computer. So there was no more Overwatch for him on his own beast, but we're gonna fix that tonight after the show. But yeah, overall, my first impressions, the game it's an awesome game. It's really I like how fast it can go, right? Like if you can shut a team down in the early game and within the first 5 minutes you can have the game won. The game can go on longer, obviously, depending on how the objectives are being handled, but it's a very fast-paced, exciting game. You don't choose one character and get stuck with it like in League of Legends or Dota. You're not stuck playing Lee Sin or Master Yi or whoever you've chosen. You get to come back and say, you know what? Torbjorn isn't doing it for me. I'm going to come back as Tracer, something like that. And that really is a fun dynamic. And on that, we're going to segue into our first segment, Esports Theory Crafting. And we are going to talk about potential vetoes and how that will be playing into the future of the game. So 1 second, Esports Theory Crafting, vetoes. Not only that, but let's also talk about just how that dynamic works, where you get to respawn as a different hero. So, Pilot, you have a pretty interesting idea. Go ahead and run us through your potential veto system.
Okay, my veto system came before I saw any of the pre-footage, and I didn't know how the initial champion selection was going to go. So, I'm going to have to kind of, adjust this on the fly. But I thought it was going to be kind of the League of Legends aspect, where you would pick, each rotate through and pick. Didn't exactly know that it was all going to be blind. You wouldn't see the other team till it started. But my idea was you pick 6 champs, our 6 people. We all pick our champs. And then that's seen by the other team. So they know what you're initially starting with. They could build a counter. They could just pick who they want to pick, however they wanted to go about it. And then there were 3 hidden champs that you could pick. And this was the pool that your entire team got to choose from. And then you could only switch it in and out between those 9 champions. So you had half the champions every game. And then you could all still go Winston, or you could all still go Tracer. You could double up on champions. But I just thought it would make it more interesting. You'd have to have a game plan before the match even started. There wouldn't be the dynamic that you said you liked. You're getting your ass kicked, and you could just completely switch your game plan. You would have to plan for that prior to the game ever actually starting. And I just thought it was a good twist, and just add for more competition, I think.
I do like that idea. I think it's a unique idea that you don't get the whole player pool, right? So you have 9 champions. You would have to create mid-game, late-game champions, mid-game, late-game compositions, right? Where you find that your opponents, okay, you're at this point in a certain map, and they've now sieged up, and it's extremely hard to break, but you need to move the objective, so within that 9 characters that you've chosen, you've made that kind of composition. And then I like the idea still, did you say the part about the unknown?
Yeah, the 3 hidden champs that they couldn't see who you picked.
Yeah, so the 3 hidden champions, I like that idea a lot too. And the only thing I guess I'd be concerned with, and again, we wouldn't know until this was actually played out, is that if within that 9 champion and the hidden 3 and all that, someone was able to create a composition that was like sort of unbreakable, right? Like with the full pool of characters, you're able to find other people, other heroes that you can come in and like, okay, you know what? We're going to, on the fly, we have this big pool and we can actually handle whatever you're putting down. And that actually creates a little more constraint. You only have those 9 you chose. Figure a way to undo whatever the enemy team is doing, or you're screwed. So, Loco, what do you think?
I actually really do like that idea. Yeah, I'm just thinking like, especially in the esports format, right? Do you think it would be played like best of 3 or best of 5? Because most of the games that I've played seem to end before like 10 minutes, right? So if you would have a system where half of the champions or the heroes rather would be played by one team, they would have to count through multiple maps. And I found so far that certain heroes are really good on certain maps. Like, for example, Roadhog is really good in the tight chokes and whatnot. But then you also have the wide open maps where Roadhog is just kind of, not that great. And with a whole, like, a veto system and a ban system and not having all heroes at your disposal, I can imagine that you would spend, like, half your time in draft mode or whatever it is, and then actually half the time playing. And I can imagine that would be kind of a big time commitment, I suppose. And I don't know if the heroes are impactful enough for that either. I mean, it's not like a dedicated tank cannot deal damage. I mean, a Winston can almost out DPS a Reaper if played correctly, right? So it would require all the heroes to be, impactful enough for that to really shine through.
Right, and that's something that we're definitely going to have to see how that evolves for each hero as we get them played. So this is like the early speculation of, if we look at esports, because everyone is looking at esports. Blizzard just hired the former CEO, I believe it was, of ESPN. So this is just like, everything is screaming esports, especially the last few years of Blizzard. So Overwatch is something a lot of people are looking towards as a potential esport, and it's pretty exciting. So that's what we're going through with this theory crafting. So, Loco, you want to talk real quick about your idea?
Yeah, so the initial idea that I had before playing was indeed like a draft mode with picks and bans. So let's say you would actually be, like, the idea was basically that you would be locked into a certain hero for a round, sort of similar as all of the MOBAs do it. So you would be able to ban certain heroes out, but then if you're playing a best of 5, you would have to lock in a certain hero for a map. So let's say I decide to play Winston. I can switch him out in the next game of the best of 5, but I have to be locked in this one. But that was before really realizing how good like a support can also be at dishing out damage, or how sustainable a damage dealer can be compared to a tank. So I'm not 100% certain if that is going to be the correct, a great model to be playing either. But I don't know if you have any idea about that.
Yeah, no, the picks and bans idea is kind of cool. I like the idea. My idea was kind of that simple. It's just only bans, and you ban 5 characters from each team, right? So I imagine that at the end of the beta, we're probably going to have more characters, maybe. That's an assumption. I don't know how big they're going to want this player pool to be. But, yeah, you choose 5, and it would have to be an alternating thing. So you flip the coin, whoever goes first is decided. But then, so let's say Roadhog is banned. The other person can, not choose to also ban Roadhog and, like, save that for later, you know what I mean? So you get that kind of... similar to in League of Legends, where the pick and ban phase becomes a strategy, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that you're banning 5 characters, and just the order you do it,
You're saying 5 characters from the opponent's team, but your team could still pick that
exactly.
character.
So they can choose to make sure that, okay, well, you can't have Reaper either if we can't have Reaper, but at the same time, you might want to wait before you immediately make that move to see what else they ban, you know what I mean? So you kind of get the mind games going and all that. So yeah, I think the pick and ban, I do like the way that Pilot's idea would impact, but the way Loco's and mine would go in the long run, I think I don't know. It's a tough thing. I think we're going to definitely have to see how the game plays out. Because here's the other thing, right? The maps we're playing right now, you play one map, you play one game, and you get thrown into the you only do one side, right?
Yeah.
So you're only doing the defense, or you're only doing the attack. And that is something we'd have to figure out. Like, is a best of 3 going to be attack, defend, attack, defend, attack, defend? Or is it going to be, a random draw? That's what we have to figure out, and decide. So,
well, on that
map
note,
balance
how would
is
you
all
like
over the place still, right? Like, nobody knows what side is balanced.
Right.
Yeah, on that note, how would you like to see that played out in a best of 3? Would you like to see attack, defense, attack, attack, defense, attack, defense, attack, defense? Like,
well, the thing is, if you have 6 rounds, right, it's hard to declare a winner.
Well, but they go so slow that I think that technically you could do. Well,
maybe coin toss it, like, have like one of the sides decide if they want to start as defense.
Oh, that's kind of work. Thorin just brought this up in the Counter-Strike community. I can't remember what it's called. It's from the older Counter-Strike. It's called Charges Only, I think. And basically what it is that so each team plays on one side for a certain amount. So you're a terrorist for 20 minutes, and then you're counter terrorist. But only bomb plants and explosions count on the terrorist side.
So then you're just saying you would be escorting a payload, get it there, a new payload spawns.
No, not necessarily. So what I just say is that you do the 6 rounds, but only. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That wouldn't work because it would have to be.
No.
Yeah. So, well, I guess it would be first. Yeah. I guess you couldn't do it that way. I had to say it out loud to realize that doesn't work. So yeah, I'm not actually sure how. Maybe that would be it. Maybe it's you escort a payload, and it not only measures you're successful, but maybe it also measures just how far you got. So that if you do like 5.5, it measures exactly what that half, where that mark ends, and then the next team switches over after however many minutes, right? So 20 minutes maybe, and then they have to escort and you have to fight. Perhaps that's how it would go. You guys have any thoughts about that?
Yeah. So like the thing is also that you would have to decide if you want to have it as a best of 5 or a best of 7 or whatever. Because I actually imagined the games to be a little bit longer. I don't know if you guys experienced the same, but a lot of the games seem to end. Maybe if you actually have a competitive scene, it would last about 10 minutes. But most of my games seem to end right around 5 to maybe 7 minutes at tops. If it's pretty dominant to one side.
Yep.
So I guess if you can do a best of 5 and you would have the same map played twice. So basically the first time, one team would be attacking, the other one would be defending, and then you'd switch side. I guess you could technically still do like a best of 5, and then basically call them rounds. So if you let's say you play a best of 5, you have 3 different maps in the end, and I'm thinking about it, but it would just complicate it so much. There must be like an easier way of doing it, right? Basically, the idea of that I had right now is to have one team attacking first, then the other team attacking.
Mm-hmm.
Then go to the other map, other team attacking, and then the other one defending again. Switch sides again, and eventually you would be able to get a best of 5. It's just hard to determine who would get the first attack and defense side, because you can't really even it up very easily. But I think a best of 5 would make most sense time commitment wise, because you would actually be able to do a series in about an hour. At least
that wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too bad. If you would just do like a best of 3, it could be over really quickly.
Pilot, you're gonna say something?
Yeah, I don't even remember what I was going to say anymore, but I do like the best of 5, and I think to determine the 5th, the way that I'm understanding this is you have your 3 different maps. So the first one, each team attacked, each team defends. So there's 2 rounds. Next map, both attack, both defend. 4 rounds. And then on that final map, I mean, I guess it would just have to be like a coin toss. And I mean, 50-50 chance, that's fair. When they do, like in League of Legends, it's, a random chance who gets, the blue side for the 5th game or for the 3rd game or whatever it is. So, I mean, still random is fair,
Yeah.
It would be easy for a best of 3 though, because you could just. Oh wait, no. No, never mind. The best of 3 would also be difficult, obviously, if you have, the attackers winning twice. It really depends. Like, we also don't really know at this point, obviously, if maps are heavily in favor of the defending side. So far, it seems to be pretty 50-50, but I mean, it could very well be that certain hero composition or certain positions on certain maps are just going to be, clearly easier to be defending in than to be attacking in. It's very hard to call right now, but do you guys know by any chance exactly if like the competitive scene, what the competitive scene of Team Fortress 2 uses? Because I'm not completely up to date on that.
I'm not. I've actually never played Team Fortress 2.
Okay, well, fair enough. I don't know exactly what they use either, but I haven't really heard like any great idea where I was like, wow, that's that makes a lot of sense. Let's pick that.
Yeah. All right, well, we can definitely hash that one out more, definitely, as the game comes along. This is, as Blizzard said, it's a true beta, so they're really, really early in the... Ryan!
Sorry.
They could technically also actually do map bans.
Yeah.
Right? Just like have maybe, I don't know how many maps there are currently, but basically consider the attacking and the defending teams different maps. So basically, every map would be in there twice, and people would be able to veto out the different maps.
Maybe.
That would make a lot of sense.
Man, it's kind of weird.
It's up for grabs.
Yeah.
You can just sort of pick whatever you want.
All right, guys, let's go ahead now, and you want to jump into the hero spotlight, guys?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's go
Let's
ahead.
go with that. All right. Let me copy the title and paste it in, and we'll get on that topic. So Hero Spotlight, Pharah. She's a pretty. I mean, we won't go through the lore really, but damn, this chick is badass. While we're talking about her, I'm actually gonna throw up the her video while we discuss it. All right. So pretty awesome ability. She just has a rocket launcher, 6-round magazine, right? And then she has her jump jet rockets. That is you push shift and it launches you pretty high in the air, really high. I think almost any surface that can be jumped on, the rocket guarantees that you'll be high enough to get on it. Then space is hover jets. If you hold it, it hovers you for a short period of time. You see the bar come up, and it's gonna run out the fuel as you go, but if you tap it, you can last for quite a while up. You can make it to the next platform. You see that happening right now. So it's pretty awesome ability. Then you have the Concussive Blast. Concussive Blast knocks everyone back, including yourself. So if you're close enough, you'll get thrown back as well. And then your Q, the ultimate, is the Barrage, and that's what you're seeing right now. It is a lot of damage, guys. I'm sure you both have seen it. A lot of the time when you're playing this hero, or you're playing with this hero against it, that's what's usually getting your big end game moments, right? Yeah. So it's a really fun, really exciting player to play. I believe all of us have played it, right?
Yes.
All right,
Quite
cool.
a couple games, yeah.
One thing that you didn't point out that I would like to point out, and I only noticed this on her, so she may be the only one, she may not be the only one, but she can actually hurt herself with her rockets. So that's something you have to be weary of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Tracer
only
can
the
do that
rocket
as well.
launcher. Only the rocket launcher does that. The concussive grenade doesn't do that.
Yep. No, very, very powerful hero. I actually played a game just a couple hours ago where a Pharah player absolutely dominated us, and we had absolutely no way of breaking it. Like we didn't really know what to do. She's extremely powerful if played correctly, but it's kind of hard to land those skills as well because the rockets don't seem to be going completely straight. Like they seem to. I think they do go straight, but they have quite a lot of travel time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really anticipate where enemies are going to be at. And if you're high up, it's relatively easy to shoot the grenades, obviously, and not get hit. But the closer you go to the ground, obviously, the easier the rocket will be able to hit, and it makes it a very fun dynamic, I suppose, with how to be playing Pharah.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that I've noticed, and I've seen people talking about Team Fortress or Quake is the leading that you have to do with rockets and all that, and so that's something that I'm definitely getting used to or working to get used to with this game. But the rockets are very powerful. We're going to be putting out some new content, guys, that is going to talk about how many kills it's going to take to get someone, with each character, what a Reaper can do, etc., things like that. So either way, guys, it's a really exciting Pilot. Talk to me about some tactical uses for her abilities and what you've seen.
Oh man, she is just like some of the cool things that I've seen her do is just run into the fray, start blowing things up, and then just randomly just jump out of there. And it's everybody it's the first day of the beta, so they're still just it's a new champion, and everybody's terrible as well. But nobody ever expects her to run in and then just jump above them and shoot straight down. And I did that a few times, and I would end up with usually at least 2 kills. And then I'll just float away, and it would be great. And due to all of my computer issues and crashing out of the game, pretty much every time, I don't think I ever got a full charged ultimate on her, so I never actually got to use it. So I still don't know how much damage that actually does. I watched you do it yesterday, Lycan, and I think you got a triple kill off of it, just randomly.
Yep.
And
no, it was calculated. All calculated.
Oh, I'm sure it was. It looks super powerful, and I know I've died to it a couple times. So playing
it's really good.
Playing her was a real challenge for me because I didn't play the latest Call of Duty with the jetpacks and stuff. So just that controlling myself in the air while still focusing and moving and trying to shoot down on the ground was just I think it's a pretty steep learning curve.
It is. She's definitely going to be one of the higher learning curves because you have to balance all that. You're moving in so many different ways. You're never steady. The only time you're ever steady is when you're doing your barrage. If you, for those who haven't played, if you hit shift and it launches you in the air and then you hit barrage, the only thing you can move is kind of like up, down, left, right, and facing. But you stay the same height in the air while you fire that, and then you fall again. Mm. But yeah, Man, Loco, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I found she's really powerful and very strong overall, but she seems to be especially good at teams or against teams where they're pretty stationary, right? So this afternoon we had a really stupid composition going where we basically wouldn't lose a game. Well, first off, we ran 2 Bastions, and then we started running triple Bastion. And the more games we won, because we wouldn't really be losing at all, the more games we won, the stronger the opponents would become as well. And there was this one person, that's the same guy that I just talked about, right? That was really good with him. He was actually playing McCree at first. Then he realized he was up against triple Bastion, and he switched into Pharah, like herself, and actually started barraging us down. It can really do so much damage, like especially with the what you just talked about, where you basically run forward, jump up, and get above them. You cannot hit them as a Bastion. Like you cannot actually turn around and like shoot above you if you're up in the turret mode, right? So she's a really powerful all-round pick, but she's also really great at like taking out stationary targets, I suppose. Like I would say she's probably stronger in the attacking teams, just because she's has so much maneuverability, but also because most of the time the enemies you're up against and the heroes you're up against are going to be relatively stationary, such as like Torbjorn, who has like low HP and also doesn't really have any way to get out. And like I mentioned, Bastion as well. Like Bastion right now, everyone's complaining about him because if you have a couple up against you, it's really hard. Yeah, but like Pharah is a really, really great pick against them. At least as far as we understand the beta right now.
Yeah. That could change tomorrow though.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
But like as far as like playing her goes, the biggest thing seems to be to shoot at feet, because it does actually do AoE damage, but it seems to only do proper AoE damage if you actually have it like impact the ground. If I understand correctly, like it doesn't seem to do as much AoE damage if you actually hit someone on the legs or whatever. Like actually aiming for the ground at the very least got me a lot more kills with Pharah.
I'll try that out.
What I had heard, and this was when Ellaheim was doing his stream, they were talking about her damage, and the way it was, to my understanding, at least coded, is a direct hit should do more damage than the AoE damage from the rocket itself. So that sounds like that's probably a bug, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Yeah, maybe I didn't try it properly, but it really seemed to me that like aiming for the floor is just gonna give you a lot more. Well, maybe it's just because the blast radius is much bigger. Like actually getting a bullet straight to like one of those rockets straight to, like the chest or something is much harder to hit because of the travel time. So you seem to at least get a lot more guaranteed damage in by hitting the floor. But yeah, you may very well be right that it should do more damage, but yeah.
So is there anything, Loco, that you noticed is like a should not do kind of play with Pharah?
Don't like run in if you don't have your I don't know exactly what it's called, the hover jets, like the jump jet thing.
The jump jet.
If you don't have to, if it's on cooldown, you have absolutely no sustain at all. You seem to have, I believe you have 200 life, and you're not very fast. You're pretty big as well, like the hitbox is pretty big, so you can get targeted down really easily, but you really need to bank on the jump jet.
All right, Ryan, what about you?
I went first.
Oh yeah, I already got you. All right.
Yeah, cool. We're waiting on you. I would say my thing not to do as Pharah is play as Lycan, because you were bad as Pharah yesterday.
Yeah, no.
Wait, we should settle this though. Is it like Pharah or is it Vara? I hear like 16 different pronunciations of her name. Like
I actually work with a girl at work who spells her name exactly like that, and she calls herself Pharah. So
well, there we go. That's quite deep.
There we go.
Settled once and for all.
So I think that yesterday I was a little rough on Pharah. I was doing great though on Reaper and Roadhog. I feel like Roadhog is going to be just easy mode though. I'm not saying that he's a move Protoss style, but he's definitely he's very tanky. He's very beefy. He has a nice heal that returns a lot of his health, especially and it has a slow cooldown. That's the other thing I like. These abilities have slow cooldowns. Everyone's ability has slow cooldowns. Like your most 10 seconds on something, and then you have to get in there and actually do something to get your ult up. But so Pharah, let's wrap that up before we go talking about the other folks. Pharah, is a very fun champion, going to be one that has an extremely high skill cap compared to the others. It's something that you really have to master, how to control her flight, how to aim while moving, while flying, and all that. Those rockets, as Pilot pointed out, they have a very long travel time, so you got to learn to lead, you got to learn to anticipate where your enemy is going to be before you fire. But it's a champion that's really going to be the tide turner for the game. The barrage ability, a lot of DPS, a lot of powerful output in a short period of time that's going to, as Loco pointed out, break those siege situations. And by the way, before we move on, Loco, was this multiple, what's the robot's name? I'm already forgetting names. Bastion. Was the multiple Bastion before or after the 3 Torbjorn?
That was before.
Okay,
did you watch the 3 Torbjorns? That wasn't successful. Like, that was pretty terrible.
I saw you guys start out, and I didn't get to finish, so I was curious. Did you find out if you can heal someone else's turret?
No. So basically, what we tried to do, Torbjorn can set up this turret, and you have a hammer, right? And you need to collect this scrap metal across the map, and you can upgrade your own turret, but you can also repair your own turret because the turret, does the most damage for Torbjorn. But anyway, we were running multiple Torbjorns. And we were testing out if you could actually repair each other's turret and actually upgrade each other's turret, but sadly that isn't possible. Because technically speaking, it basically has different stages. You have stage 1 turret, stage 2, stage 3. Technically speaking, if you run 3 Torbjorns, you would be able to go to a stage 3 turret right from the get-go. And with a Lucio, you would be able to get to the other side of the map and set it up at their spawn, but we tried it out, and sadly it didn't work. Yeah, so that would be stupidly overpowered if that would work, though, because
and then you just put a Reinhardt in front of it to protect it.
Yeah. That's what we did as well with the Bastion setup. I have like 2 Bastions on the payload, because if you're on the payload, the turret mode does still move forward. And then actually have a either a Reinhardt in front of it or the like the shield projector from Winston, which also can be put on a payload and it moves forward. And it's absolutely unbreakable.
That's what I like to do. Is I actually like to find the payload and put my Torbjorn turret on it, especially if you have molten core ready. Just man. So
yeah, it's so good
with Torbjorn or Torby, Torby for short. Let's go ahead and what are we going to call this segment? Champion rundown. So we're going to go over now this is first impressions. We will obviously talk about these champions for weeks and weeks to come. But let's just talk about underwhelming, overwhelming, and surprises, right? I'll kick this segment off. Torbjorn. Before we got into this, we were talking amongst ourselves. Hey, who's going to be the least enjoyable to play with? Who seems just kind of with their abilities? Torbjorn was on my list. I thought he was going to be lame. I thought it was like, that gun looks so so weak. How are you going to collect enough scrap to build a new turret? Blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you, mind blown. I was completely wrong. Torbjorn is a lot of fun. You can run and gun with that gun. You set up a turret. You get a few quick kills. The initial stage 1 turret is still extremely powerful. So it's a hero that I did not expect to be so enjoyable. It was a lot of fun. And he's probably my second most played in the last 24 hours.
He's the only one I didn't play.
Yeah.
Well, you don't get to say a thing now.
I will stay out of the Torbjorn conversation.
All right. So what do you think, Pilot? What did you think of who's the most underwhelming in your eyes before you got to play, and then just opinion changed?
The least underwhelming, or the most underwhelming, I guess is what it is. Champion, I thought, is Symmetra, and let all the haters hate right now, and she's so awesome, she's got a teleport, she's gonna make plays in the late game. That's all it felt like to me, was she had a teleport. She brings a teleport to the game. Her shield, I think, gives like 50 health protection. That's all right. Her turrets were just, if she put them together to really try to do anything with them, like one Pharah rocket takes out all 3 of them, and it just looked so underwhelming. And yeah, her right click for the charge up projectile, I don't even know what it's called. That looked pretty cool, but the travel time on that was just ridiculous.
That's easy to dodge. It's very easy to dodge.
Yeah. The thing about that right click, though, that I didn't realize until one of the community manager pointed it out, actually, is that it goes through shields. So the right click of Symmetra, actually, it does a ton of damage. If you're up against the Bastion, or you're up against like a double Reinhardt or whatever, it actually goes straight to the shield and it almost nearly kills them. So she's one of these situational picks, and like you mentioned, she's going to be good in late game, I suppose. But
Yeah,
Not the
but
most
that
exciting
was
character.
that was the only ability of hers that I found even remotely intriguing, and I think I got about 2 deaths into her before the game crashed, and I never went back to her last night. I did enjoy it. I wasn't aggressive enough to really do anything with my sentries, so I never got to see how that played out. But the left clicking and like just grabbing people with that little thing and doing damage and running and shielding, it was kind of fun. I don't think that it was as impactful as maybe like grabbing Mercy or something like that, who can still provide, the exact same benefits for the team. So I would say that she's probably my least favorite supporting character right now.
All right. I will say this, though, because you brought up a point kind of made me think there may end up being characters that are only really good in the late game. And one of the things we'll discuss later is the fact that your ultimate has to charge. And so you might have to take into consideration upon dying, I am this close to this character's ultimate. What's going to be more valuable? Switching to another character and working towards their ultimate? Switching to another character and getting their early game abilities? Or waiting it out, getting this ultimate, and then switching once I can make a play with it, right? So
Yeah.
we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that's something to think about with a character like that, because I do agree that, I think she was my second most underwhelming. But Loco, what about you?
So we're talking most underwhelming character.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think here who I really didn't.
Now, it can be
enjoy
someone you
playing
thought
as
was going to
much.
be underwhelming and then ended up not being.
I played a little bit of Lucio at Gamescom, and I found him really hard to play. Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where I was going. But if you play Lucio in a team composition and you actually play with like people that stay together, especially his ult is extremely good. Like, it basically makes it so that, for anyone wondering, he basically has this ultimate that allows everyone to get up to an HP point that is over like 600-700. So it's basically everyone gets the amount of health of a tank for,
Damn.
I think it's like 5 seconds or something like that, or 10 seconds. And you can really use that to like push a location. So let's say you're standing there with the 6 of you right around the corner. You know the objective is over there. You can actually activate that ult and start pushing forward immediately. And it's so extremely good. So I would say I didn't expect Lucio to be so impactful. I think that's the main one. He also seems to be doing a lot of damage, but
Yeah.
He seemed kind of underwhelming, but now he's definitely one of the strongest, I think.
I really enjoyed playing him yesterday. I
Yeah.
played a couple of games as him, just toggling back that heal and that movement speed, and just hanging with your team. Really good. The right click, the little like push away, whatever that's called. Awesome. Like so many times I'm about to die and I get away from me. Let me heal up and get away.
You can actually push them out of the level as well, which is even more satisfying.
The character, I actually didn't enjoy Lucio too much, but one thing I do want to bring up, though, that you made me think about is the map Volskaya Industries, right? That has the hardest to push point, I think, in the entire game, which is if you take objective A, that's easy. It's out wide in the open. That's cool, fine. But getting into that little warehouse like area for the second objective, did you get a chance to play that map, Loco?
Is that I don't know the exact names. Is that the one that is first outside and then you basically head inside?
Yeah,
Looks
it's
like
got
a
like
hangar or
the
something?
it's got the
Yeah.
platforms that like float and take you inside it, and they're constantly going in like
Oh,
that
that
circle.
one. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Sorry, I was thinking of another one right there.
I haven't even
That
seen
map is actually really good. Yeah, but
It's
once
good.
again, like you can counter pick on that one right again. Right, you can. Most of the time, it seems that people switch to once B. Like once people have to. Oh, my webcam is doing it again. Once they have to attack objective B, I think you're talking about when you're the defending team. It seems to be much easier than the attacking team.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it seems that most people would immediately switch into like characters that are very tanky and have shields and whatnot, like Bastion and then turrets on Torbjorn as well. But then you can once again counterpick with something like Symmetra and Pharah and whatnot. So I'm not sure if it's really like imbalanced. It just seems that most people just pick a hero right now and just stick with it through the entire game. But it's really not how it's meant to be played, it seems like.
Yeah. So let's talk about favorite characters, right? We'll go. We started with the negative. Let's end on the high note, right? Pilot, tell me your character that you were just like, fuck yeah, at the end of the night.
Yesterday, I got through most of them. Torbjorn I didn't get to play, and there's probably somebody else I didn't get to play. But somebody I was not looking forward to playing, like no hype on him, didn't really hate on him or anything, but was Junkrat, and I absolutely love this guy. This is, aside from healing, which is what I do in most games that I play, this is my play style. Just hanging out in the back and just doing a shit ton of damage. Like, he was just so much fun to play, throwing his little bomb and jumping up top and then just raining grenades down on people.
He's the guy that when he dies, his passive is to throw a bunch of grenades.
His grenades drop on his body. He was just so much fun. The tire, that thing's hilarious. And I think I got 3 kills off of it the one time I got to use it. Nobody expected the tire to just be showing up. He feels really powerful. He feels like the ADC from League of Legends. I just stay back and just nobody's messing with me, and I'm just killing people. That's a blast, absolute blast.
Yeah, Loka, what about you?
No pun intended.
I actually really enjoyed playing the damage dealers, and then in particular, like McCree and Tracer. I actually played a lot of Tracer, especially towards the end of me playing today, and I think I played there for about 2 hours or so. But she's really high skill. Like if you're willing to focus hardcore on the game, right, Tracer is a great pick. If you're looking to lay back and just click a bunch, then other heroes are better. But if you're really willing to be super focused, Tracer is super powerful. Basically, what she can do that I didn't realize would be so good. Like, she only has 150 health by default, so she's very flimsy. But you have a recall ability that allows you to go back a couple seconds prior. So what happens is you get your ammo back that you had at that point, and you also get your health back that you had at that point, and the position as well. So basically, you fly backwards. So sometimes you would get in a really bad scenario, go almost down, and then slam that E button and get back out, and all of a sudden be
at 150
stacks, health again.
Do you get your stacks back on your dash when you recall?
No.
No, you do not get those back. No.
Something cool.
But they recharge really quickly, don't
they? They do. So 2 cool things. Well, 1 cool thing, and then one other speculation. If you dash, so like let's say you dash, and then E, you actually get the dashes. So it's not limited on distance either. It's completely time based. So if you dash and you hit your E, you get the full dash. All the dashes, you'll go back as far as you when you started at the whatever the cutoff time point is, right? Something I've wondered, Loco, did you ever play League of Legends?
A little bit, not that much though.
All right, so they have a character that came out earlier this year called Echo. And it was a big hyped up character, but people talk about espionage between Blizzard and Riot. People stealing Riot stealing workers. That's all speculation. I have no proof, but Riot stealing workers, IP ideas, whatever. I'm just saying that Echo is almost like that. The ultimate for Echo is just the same as what's her name's E. Like you reverse, you get a little bit of the health back, you go back to your original position.
So there's a lot of similarities between those 2 characters, and I know these, but you don't play as much as I do like him. But like even her ultimate is just like his W, like just a big ball that goes out, or not a ball, but like an explosion out in the middle. Her dash, he's got a dash as well. There's a lot of similarities between those 2 characters. A lot.
Yeah. But that's a lot like that in general, though. Like, there's a lot of overlap between shooters. If you have, like, Soldier 76, which is just an assault class, but then you also have...
He's a Call of Duty character.
Exactly. But, like, then you also have Roadhog, obviously, with the hook ability, which is just typical, like, Stygius Pudge.
Yeah.
I don't know the one in League of Legends, but, very typical MOBA-esque aspect. I don't know. Like, it's difficult, I suppose, to come up with only unique characters, but... I don't know. Tracer really good to play though. I don't know if there's any more characters very typically with those MOBA-esque
apparently
elements.
According to chat, apparently Dota has a guy named Weaver, and apparently that guy actually has the ability. So that might be where the idea came from. I mean, you're going to see recycled abilities anyway, so I guess that kind of debunks the idea that Riot stole it. So there we go. But yeah. She's a lot of fun. I find that you really have to get up close and personal and use that dodge to your advantage. You have to be spot on with those rounds or you're going to be reloading a lot because that gun doesn't have a lot of ammo to it.
Oh, it goes through so quick.
It does.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The most satisfying thing really quickly too.
Yeah, the most satisfying thing on Tracer is to have your ult up, blink forward 3 times, stick that grenade to like anyone, and then recoil out again. and you can click super quickly, but you can take out any hero in the game. I don't know if also it's like if a tank goes down with a shield as well, but you can basically nuke down any character. Like let's say you see a Bastion sit right there, who's basically always sitting and being annoying, right? You can dash forward, apply that grenade to him, and just recoil out, and they will go down in one hit. And talking about like the friendly damage that you said earlier of Pharah, she has that exact same thing with the grenade. With her ult, I found that out the hard way about 10 times. You basically blow yourself up as well because she's so flimsy. But yeah, she's really good. She's really fun. But she's just, I think she's much more difficult to play than Pharah. Like she is really high skill ceiling.
Yeah, agreed. You have to be able to move quick with her, so you got to have that fast reaction time, and you have to have very good aim as well. I'm gonna cheat. Since I'm hosting the show, I can do this. I'm going to actually pick a couple. First of all, Reaper is a lot of fun. Reaper was, but I think just from watching the cinematic, you could see that. Soldier 76 is like the penultimate Call of Duty character, right? You've just got this rifle, you run around, you shoot things, you make things die. He's a lot of fun. The sprint, yeah, it's just like the...
yeah, it's just a shift. It's just a sprint.
But it's so nice. You're just like... With the other characters, I don't know how many times I died, and as soon as I got back to the spawn point, I tried to pull out my Call of Duty, or my Counter-Strike knife so that I could walk faster, or run faster. So it's nice to get on him and just be like, I'm going to run for a long distance. But he's a great run and gun. His grenades do a lot of damage, and then that heal, he can heal himself up almost entirely, and that has a very short cooldown. So he's really great for getting in, out, healing yourself. So yeah, I think the Reaper and Soldier 76 were two of my favorites.
Here's a question I pose on that for Soldier 76. His health pack, can you shoot that and destroy it? Because that regenerates a ton of health, and if
I don't think you can.
He's hard to kill.
I don't think you can.
It only lasts for like 3 seconds anyway, so I don't think you
got to get focused
maybe
down.
Maybe you can, but yeah, it's really hard. Like it's just it's
maybe like
this big that you put on the ground, right? So
yeah, I mean, but maybe like a Pharah and a rocket splash and kills it or something.
I haven't noticed that. Maybe. Yeah.
All right. So last one is, we're gonna run through this one real quick before we move on. Least favorite to play against, Loco.
I think it has to be Bastion. Like, even though I feel like I'm talking about Bastion every move, but like Bastion is extremely annoying. Like there's these weird alleyways that he can just sit in and just sit, and there's no way you're gonna get past it. You need to have a counter pick for Bastion. So I would say Bastion is by far the most annoying character that I've seen so far, together with Torbjorn, but not quite as much. Like basically any stationary thing that's doing a lot of damage that you can't break. That's that's really annoying.
So, what about you, Pilot?
The least favorite thus far, and I'm sure this will change by the next few matches, but it seems like Reaper was just eating my soul. I would almost get him killed, and then he just turns into that little ghost form thing, and then either gets away or gets somewhere and then pops back out and kills me every time. Or he would just run up to me and be like, I do too much damage. Boom, you're dead.
Well, you were playing Lucio, to be fair, though. So. Or no, you were playing...
Well, I mean, I played through different people, but like he always just wrecked me. I feel like he's really strong right now. He's in a good place. Maybe too good of a place.
All right.
It's so early to say that.
My least favorite...
It's not in that.
My least favorite was Widowmaker. I hated getting sniped by her. That's really as simple as it comes down to. She'd be somewhere where I didn't know, and next thing I know, I see, I'm dead, kill cam. Of course, it was Widowmaker up in that spot that I didn't see. And she's very hard to hit. A lot of these characters don't have range, so I think that's one of the things is you've got to get it to counter her. You need a range closer, or you need to be not seen and get up behind her and then whack her.
Yep. She one-shots everyone that's not a tank with a headshot, so she's just, like, no matter what, if you have armor or anything, she's so good.
Does it actually count specifically headshot for her?
Yeah. I believe she does 125 damage or something. I don't know exactly, don't quote me on that, but I believe it does double the damage for a headshot, so she kills pretty much anyone with a headshot.
Nice. I did not know that.
Yeah, she's really good. But the best thing I found about her, though, I guess we're going off topic here, but anyway, the best thing I've found about Widowmaker is that her ult, like the infra site or whatever it's called. Like it's basically a wall hack. You can see where everyone's located. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it actually counts for the entire team.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and that's awesome.
that's like the biggest thing for her. Like it's not just that she's annoying, but
Yeah.
a lot of vision.
Bastion has been annoying, especially on Watchpoint Gibraltar. Our actual whole team can get wiped out if you're escorting the payload, and yet they get to your base and they just set up a Bastion like a Torbjorn right in front of the door where you have to come out. And I mean, you can come up from up top, but some people just don't pay attention, and then they get mowed down.
Yeah.
It happened to me once. So,
How many times did you die, Lycan?
Before I stopped trying to go out that way, 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's champion rundown. We'll get a little more specific. We're going to do the spotlight every week where we talk about a new champion in a little in-depth, and that's going to get more in-depth as we get to it. So there wasn't really too much about Pharah this week, but we'll talk more about the champions as we go along, just little talking points, fun facts, anything we learned, things like that. We're going to now move into the last segment of the day, and that is going to be bullet points segment. And this is where we're just going to run down a few different things that we wanted to talk about, the miscellaneous stuff, and then we'll call it a night. So first up on the list, guys, let's talk about the ultimates and how that's going to factor in. We talked about it for a second earlier. You have your ultimate, right? For those who haven't had a chance to play or haven't read about it, your ultimate isn't given to you on a time basis. It's not given to you on a level basis. You don't scale to it. Ultimates are given by how much damage you do and how much damage you take. I believe that the more damage you do, the faster your ultimate comes up. You can't just keep dying and then get your ultimate really fast. So, but I haven't verified that yet. Still need to play a little more. But you get your ultimate, and then it comes down to the certain point where you decide, hey, we're in this situation, right? Say they're locked down, they have a really good defensive posture, they have a Torbjorn, they have a Bastion, they're doing really, really well. You need to break it. So you then have a character that has an ult, or your ult's almost done. Say you're playing Pharah, right? Pharah, we talked about earlier, is really good at breaking those seizures, especially with their ult. So are you going to keep playing because you're about 15% close to getting your ult, or are you going to switch over to a character whose immediate basic abilities are better? And I think that's something that someone's going to have to decide. For instance, you're trying to take a room that has a lot of people in it. What's the level that has the like Asian theme to it, the pagodas and stuff?
I don't remember any of the names.
Yeah, I don't like. They have cool names.
Yeah,
That's about as much.
So,
as
I remember Dorado.
Yeah,
That's the only one I remember the name.
So let's say you're
Nubani, is that it?
yeah, Numbani or something like that.
Africa, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Well, either way, so let's say you're trying to take the one with the Asian style theme, the B site, right? You want to rush in there and you're on Reaper and they're kind of weak right now, so you're going to go in and you're going to get healed by the Angel. I can't remember. See, it's still too bad with names. You're going to get healed by Mercy and you're going to rush in, you're going to do a lot of damage. So you decide, am I going to work towards getting that next 15%, or do I actually go get a character that is really, really good at breaking sieges? Something like that, right? So I want to ask Pilot, is there any kind of situation you saw when you were in the game where you felt you had to make that decision?
I'm the worst person to ask. I think I got an ultimate ability twice ever, just because of all the crashes. But it's all going to be completely situation dependent, and it's up to you to decide. Because that last 15%, that could be near impossible to get if they're held up really well and you're getting mowed down by a Bastion every time you turn the corner. Or that could be really easy to get if you could just go in and, maybe pick one person off, then you got it. That's a game changer and you could win the game. So why would you change? Yeah, maybe you have to run back one time. But it also depends. I mean, is the timer about to be up? Does everybody need to switch to Tracer just to get back in time? Like, it's all completely scenario dependent. I don't even know how to begin to define, if this, then this.
Yeah, Loco, did you ever any experience with those situations the last 12 hours you've been playing?
Honestly, like, it feels terrible to switch out a character when you're at 80% ult, so I don't think I've ever done that. Just to clarify as well, like, basically, like, the people that aren't completely aware of it, basically it doesn't carry over. Like, the progress you made on one character, if you switch character, that progress is gone again, so you need to, like, build up again, which takes a couple minutes. I guess it mostly depends on the character as well. It's like some heroes don't have the most interesting ults. Like they don't really change a game completely around. I mean, you know, someone like Reaper, for example, right? With the Death Blossom, it can wipe out the entire enemy team. But then you also have, I don't know, like any other character really. Like there's a lot of heroes out there that don't have the craziest, strongest ults. Like for example, Zarya's, right? Zarya's need a lot of it needs a lot of setup in order for it to be useful. So, I mean, if someone's playing Zarya and wants to switch to Symmetra in the late game just to get that teleporter up, I guess you're gonna switch there no matter what, right? But it really depends on how like role switching is gonna work as well. Like how important is the healer gonna be? Can you miss out a tank later? Can you like supplement with an extra support instead of a tank? Like it's really, I guess it's a little early to say, but
yeah, I will say that
we see some competition very soon.
Yeah, well,
see what they do.
We're gonna talk about that in a second, but one thing I would say that Torbjorn is the character where I found myself making that decision, right? If I'm in an offensive place where I'm trying to rush in and it's not on me to establish a point of sticking around, I will sacrifice. I'll have the queue full, and I've gotten rid of Torbjorn because sometimes you just can't get a turret up long enough. And if you start to Molten Core, you're going to waste it. You won't get anything up if you get focus fired, right? But if you're in a defensive position where you guys are staying in this one spot, you're close to your spawn, and you have no one really trying to move and go in crazy ways, it's easier to defend in some cases than it is to attack. So if you're in that position where you can get a good position to lay down a turret and you have people coming to you, dying in ones and twos, whatever, then I'll work on Torbjorn to get his ult and keep it up. But also Torbjorn's just a character that's good for that position. But that's kind of where I found myself making that decision of whether or not to sacrifice the progress I made on an ult to get another player's abilities out. Any final thoughts on that, guys, before we move to the next point?
Real quick question though, like, does your turret stay alive if you switch hero?
I don't know. I know it stays alive.
That would be
die.
insane. Like if you could set up a stage 3 turret and then switch in defensive mode into another hero. I doubt it.
I feel like that's there's no way that's a thing. That can't be happening.
That'd be crazy.
That would be pretty awesome.
That would be great.
All right, so let's talk about, is there a late game and an early game? As someone in chat pointed out, and we've been planning to talk about this, there's no scaling, right? There is no scaling. The only thing that scales is the progression on your ult and the progression on your ult and the stage of the game. So
the progression of the objectives.
Right, exactly. So do you refer to, say, you're a minute away from capturing your objective? You're a minute away on the defensive side from preventing the objective from being met, or from preventing from the objective from being captured or the payload from being delivered. Does that count as the late game? Like, does the time and the way people strategies, is that going to create this less tangible late game than you would say in StarCraft or Dota or League of Legends, where you say, oh, they have X amount of gold, they have X build, they have their abilities up to this point? What do you think, Pilot?
Yes. No, regardless of how it's defined, I would say, yeah, call it the late game. But sorry, I was reading chat as you were winding down there, so I don't even know what the last probably 2 sentences you said were. But yeah, I think like once on the multi-objective maps where you're taking an objective then escorting or taking 2 objectives, like after you take that first objective, your complete mindset has to change. You can't, like, if you die, there is now a penalty of it's going to take me 20 seconds to get back to the fight. I can't affect our objective for 20 seconds. Like, you're completely out of it. So whether you label it that or not, it definitely is going to affect your strategy in the game. At least it should. You shouldn't just keep respawning as the same character, running back and dying, because then you're not helping the team, and it's a team game. It's not an individual game.
So the thing is that, and when I try to counter this in my mind, is that you come up, you have all the same characters at any point in the game, right? Again, also the only thing that's scaling. So I'm going to throw this to you, Loco. Do you think that do you think people are going to be creating compositions that last persistently throughout the game, depending on the map or situation?
I feel like because you have the different objectives on every map, right? You basically have like capturing objective A and then B. Most of the maps seem to call for a different like hero composition, right? So Whereas before I started playing, I thought that you would be sticking around a lot more with the same hero. It seems that they just require different kinds of heroes to be pushing like the second part of a map, so to say. So let's say on most maps, if you're playing on the defensive team, right, you get I believe you get 45 seconds to set up your defenses. On some maps, you simply can't get in time to, for example, set up Torbjorn's turret, and you're gonna need a Lucio in order to actually walk fast enough to get across the map and set up that turret. So I can imagine that on defending teams, Lucio is almost always going to be a pick early on at the very least, together with Torbjorn. But you may want to switch that out for a second tank. Or something else to consider as well is, like, let's say you're on the attacking team and you're just nearly delivering the payload towards the objective, right? If you switch to a bunch of tanks and you have a full tank or a full Winston setup, for example, with, whatever, you get a lot more health. And you can just simply push the payload a lot easier because you simply have, you stay alive for 3 times as long just because of your health pool. I've had games where you lose because of the payload just barely not making it for the last couple percentages. So I would say there's definitely, I don't know if you would call it early game or late game or whatever, but I can imagine there's definitely going to be different stages of heroes switching and different stages of the game where you want to be switching up the heroes. And I guess also something else to consider that has popped in my head is, like, if you're the defending team in a late game and there's only, the payload pushing forward, and you might want to consider switching into like a full shielding team, right? So maybe a Reinhardt and, a couple Bastions or whatever that are just sitting there, and then all of a sudden Symmetric becomes a really good pick. So I think it mostly comes down to counter picking in certain situations depending on the map and depending on if you're the attacking or defending team and whether or not that's like late or early game. Yeah, well, I guess technically it would be, but I mean, all the games last like maximum of 10 minutes, so it wouldn't really be considered that, I suppose. But
okay. All right, so the last thing I'm going to talk about myself is the Lycan League. So for those of you who don't know, those who don't follow StarCraft, I run a tournament called the Lycan League, and it's a weekly StarCraft 2 tournament. It's run on Mondays. Everyone's allowed to compete. There's the cash prize and all that. We're going to be starting one for Overwatch. We were waiting for the post-beta FAQ to be announced so that we can know if we're allowed to run a tournament, because sometimes Blizzard says, hey, no go on that, but they said we can run a tournament, so it's going to be a weekly or bi-weekly, haven't decided yet, Overwatch tournament. It's going to be open to anyone. You can sign up as 1 to 6 players. You'll be matched with extra players, so if you only sign up with 3 friends, we'll find 3 other people to play with you, and it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be, my favorite thing about this is, we did this with Legacy of the Void, and we got to see the meta evolve. We got to see how the game was played evolved. Now, that was a game that people had already played in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm. So there was already somewhat defined metas, and people were just kind of taking the previous skill sets and building upon them. This is a game that's, yeah, sure, it's kind of like Team Fortress 2, and we have Team Fortress and Counter-Strike and all these other first-person shooters playing it. But this is a new game altogether. The abilities are new, the people are new, and we're going to see a lot of exciting things. So we're going to try to launch that in the next 2 weeks. I'll let you guys know. You can follow on Twitter at LycanGTV to find out. We will figure it out, and we'll let you know. Post the subreddit when the first signups are live.
Yeah, and also people give feedback on how you think the game should go. Should it be the 5? The best of 5, the best of 3, single game death match, not death match, but eliminator. Just give feedback.
Like, there's nothing is really decided, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows how to do this.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying.
So it's like, all right, I guess we'll just try this and throw money at it and we'll see what happens. But
maybe
that's
awesome.
awesome.
Out there's got a really good idea. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so this is going to be the end of the show. Gentlemen, is there any last thought about the last 24 hours that you want to bring up?
Awesome. I really hate API video cards because that's what's causing my problems.
I'm
very sorry to hear that. What about you, Loco?
The game is just awesome. I've been having a blast. Like, yeah.
It
runs really smoothly. Like, the one thing I guess that I would like to note is that it doesn't really feel like a beta very much. It feels like it's polished and like pretty much done. It mostly, obviously we need a ranked mode and we need like an actual UI and whatnot, but the game itself is really, really good.
It is.
Yeah. What little bit I played without crashing, like it was smooth. Like,
oh, that needs to be fixed as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's mostly on my end. I kind of had a workaround for an earlier problem. I have some non-compatible hardware, and I just made it work with some some shady things in the background, but like what I did get to play, it did feel really smooth. Like it worked. Like I've played games that launched that were more buggy than this so far.
Oh yeah, no, pretty much all games that launch lately are more buggy than this as it is right now.
So yeah, hopefully that gets fixed soon. All right, guys. Thank you both. I want to say thank you to you guys. Guys, I know that everyone was excited for Elheim, but he did a 24-hour stream, and I think he just needed some sleep, so he wasn't here today. But these two guys were. They'll be here for the rest of the show's duration. We're going to be going to BlizzCon next week. So pumped. It's going to be exciting. We're going to get some interviews with the team from Overwatch, try to convince some of them to come on the show when we return. And it's going to be a lot of fun. BlizzCon's going to be a blast, and we're looking forward to playing the game with you. If you have the beta and you want to play with us, you can follow us on Twitter at IndoorPilot, at LikeandGTV, at LocoTV. Correct, Loco?
Yep.
Is that right? All right, cool. You can find us on social media. Hit us up. Come play with us. We're definitely down to join you, except Loco, who just played a 12-hour bender. He's going to go to bed.
And I play Europe, but other than that, it's all good.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you all for tuning in. If you like it, you can hit the follow button. This video is going to be on YouTube, and then we're going to post it to SoundCloud and iTunes after. So check it out, give it a listen, and if you missed the first part, we will see you guys maybe next week. I don't know if we're going to do a show next week. We'll let you know. It depends on when everyone flies out. Week. It depends when everyone flies out, but otherwise...
I'm flying exactly a week from now, so it'll be rough, man. I'm on like a 12-hour long flight.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Loco. Thank you, Pilot. You all have a good night, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.
All right.
Bye.